Before we get started with tonight's lesson, there are 5 questions that will drive home tonight's teaching for Think Tank Tuesday, episode 46. Question 1. What does Romans 15, verse 4 mean? What does Romans chapter 15, verse 4 mean? What does Romans chapter 15, verse 4 mean? Question 2. Why was the temple system temporary? And what was it meant to teach us about the Holy Spirit? Why was the temple system temporary? And what was it meant to teach us about the Holy Spirit? Why was the temple system temporary? And what was it meant to teach us about the Holy Spirit? Question 3. What did the Old Testament sacrificial system reveal about our need for Christ as the final sacrifice? What did the Old Testament sacrificial system reveal about our need for Christ as the final sacrifice? What did the Old Testament sacrificial system reveal about our need for Christ as the final sacrifice? Question 4. Why did God allow temporary systems to point to permanent solutions? Why did God allow temporary systems to point to permanent solutions? Why did God allow temporary systems to point to permanent solutions? And last but not least, question 5. What are we failing to learn that may cause us to wander aimlessly and unnecessarily? What are we failing to learn that may cause us to wander aimlessly and unnecessarily? What are we failing to learn that may cause us to wander aimlessly and unnecessarily? Now, let's dive into the lesson.
Thanks for joining us and listening to another God-lived and God-breathed message by Darius Nelms. Our mission is to increase our generation standard back to God's standard of excellence and kingdom living through personal development, relational wisdom, business management, and faith increase. Our aim is that this message inspires and infuses you to reach your next level of living and helps you discover your rightful place in God's kingdom. Now, let's dive into the message.
Welcome to another episode of Think Tank Tuesday, where we meet every other Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time to explore the mind of God, the ideas of God, and the precepts and principles of God. This is Think Tank Tuesday, episode 46, and we will begin with Romans chapter 15, verse 4, NIV version. Romans chapter 15, verse 4, NIV version, where it says, "For everything that was written in the past was written to teach us, so that through the endurance taught in the scriptures and the encouragement they provide, we might have hope." And so what I really want to just touch on really, really quickly is that things happened before so that we can learn. God uses history to show us the cost of a thing. The temple system was temporary, but it showed us the cost of having the Holy Spirit. The sacrificial system was temporary, but it showed us the cost of needing the final sacrifice, who was Christ. The human desire for a human king was temporary, but it should show us the necessity of having a divine king, right? God uses history to show us the cost of a thing. When we read the Old Testament and we read about the temple system and the temple being built, that was temporary because it showed us the cost of having the Holy Spirit present in our lives and in the earth. It's what Jesus brought back with him when he declared that the kingdom of heaven has arrived. The sacrificial system, it was temporary. When we read the Old Testament and we see them sacrificing and sacrificing various animals and the shedding of blood, that was temporary because it showed us the cost of needing the final sacrifice, who would be Christ. He would be the last lamb that was slain. The sacrificial system was temporary It showed us the need of having Christ. The human desire for a human king, that was temporary. When we read the Old Testament and they said they want to have a human king like the other nations, that was temporary. Because it should have shown us the necessity of having a flawless, perfect, and divine king. Having a priest showed us the need for the ultimate high priest so that we can go before the throne of grace for ourselves. When we read the Old Testament and even parts of the New, we don't need the high priest anymore relative to someone like Caiaphas, right? We don't need someone to go in and atone for us by way of a human in this present day and age, because Christ atoned for us. He is the ultimate high priest. And because of Jesus Christ, now we are able to go before the throne of grace ourselves. And so this moment in time that we are experiencing will be history to a coming generation. And so the generations before us were moments in time, but now those moments have turned history into lessons for us. And so the question is, as I close out, are we willing enough to pay attention and to learn? That way we don't spend 40 years wandering around in a circle in the wilderness. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Think Tank Tuesday, episode 46. If this lesson was a help to you, please like this video, share this video, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Until next time, friends, peace.
May the Lord bless you, keep you, and make his face shine upon you. As we abide in his grace, presence, and peace, remember that you are an agent of change wherever your feet shall tread. Thanks for listening to this message and for the opportunity to teach and lead you. Until next time.